Sara Blakely didn't grow up rich. Her family didn't have connections, and the only thing she seemed to excel at was failing. Her father, a trial lawyer, had a strange ritual at the dinner table. Every evening he would look at Sara and her brother and ask, "What did you fail at today?" Not, "What did you achieve?" Not, "What are your grades?" But, "Where did you fail?" And if they didn't have an answer, he was disappointed because he believed one thing: failure wasn't something to avoid. It was evidence of effort. This simple idea planted a seed in Sara's mind, a seed that would later make her unstoppable. But at 12 years old, she didn't feel unstoppable at all. When her classmates were going to the mall or movies, Sara was performing as Goofy in a Disney theme park. Yes, Goofy, in a giant boiling hot mascot costume, sweating through Florida summers. Disney rejected her for other roles. She wasn't the right look. She wasn't talented enough. So they put her inside an animal suit. Sara learned two things. Rejection doesn't kill you. Embarrassment won't break you. These lessons would become her superpower. When Sara finished college, she dreamed of becoming a lawyer like her father. She studied hard. She believed she'd pass the LSAT. She failed. Not once, not twice, but twice badly. Everyone around her was starting careers, moving to cities, earning salaries. Sara, she became a Disney World ride operator, pressing buttons on an old machine that launched visitors into the air. Her friends laughed, family worried. Sara felt stuck. One day she looked at herself in the mirror and said, "This isn't my life. This is just where I am." And she made a decision. She packed her beat-up car and moved to Clearwater, Florida, chasing something bigger, though she didn't know what. The only job she could get? Selling fax machines door to door. And not glamorous selling. We're talking walking in 100-degree heat, being kicked out of offices, doors slammed in her face, rejection after rejection after rejection. Imagine this, 8 hours a day, in heels, holding a dusty fax machine portfolio, getting told no hundreds of times. Most people would quit in a week. Sara stayed 7 years. Why? Because she treated rejection like a game. Every no was a point. Every humiliation was progress. And during those 7 painful years, something huge happened. Sara realized she had learned the one skill that would later make her a billionaire. She could hear no and keep going anyway. It happened one hot Florida morning. Sara was getting ready for a party and wanted to wear white pants, but the underwear lines were visible. The pantyhose felt uncomfortable, and everything she tried looked wrong. So she grabbed scissors, took a deep breath, and cut the feet off her pantyhose. Suddenly, everything looked better. Her silhouette changed. The fabric stayed smooth. The lines disappeared. She stared into the mirror and whispered, "Why doesn't this exist?" But she wasn't a designer. She had no money, no fashion experience, no connections. Still, something inside her sparked. Sara felt it. This was the idea, not a genius invention, not a high-tech breakthrough, just a simple product that solved a real problem. She didn't know it yet, but she had discovered a multi-billion-dollar weakness in the apparel industry. Sara opened a savings account at 22. 7 years later, she had saved exactly $5,000. That was all she had. No investors, no loans, no rich parents. Just the money she earned sweating in parking lots selling fax machines. This was her all-in moment. She spent nights researching, days calling manufacturers, weekends sketching crude designs in notebooks. Every day she heard the same thing. "We don't make women's undergarments. We don't work with individuals. No one will buy this." Then one day, a mill owner called her back. He said, "Ask my daughters what they think, and they loved your idea." Boom. Sara had her first manufacturer, and she didn't stop there. Sara walked into Neiman Marcus with one prototype in her purse. She asked the buyer for 10 minutes. The buyer wasn't impressed, wasn't interested, wasn't convinced. So Sara did the craziest thing. She dragged the buyer to the bathroom, right there in a department store bathroom. Sara changed clothes, one leg with Spanx, one leg without. The buyer's jaw dropped. "You're in." Neiman Marcus placed their first order, then Bloomingdale's, then Saks, then Nordstrom. But nothing would compare to what happened next. One night, Sara got a call. The voice said, "Oprah is naming Spanx her favorite thing of the year." Sara fell to her knees. Overnight, orders exploded. Spanx became a household name. Sara went from debt to millions. But she never forgot the years of humiliation, failure, and rejection. And she kept going. Sara kept building. She reinvested everything. She refused outside investors. She kept full ownership, something almost no founder manages. By 2012, Forbes announced she was the youngest self-made female billionaire in history. But do you know what she did when she got the news? She didn't buy a mansion. She didn't buy a car. She sat on the floor of her apartment and cried because she realized her entire life, the failures, the costume at Disney, the fax machines, the rejection, it all led here. Sara Blakely's story isn't about money. It's about resilience. She mastered the 4 things most people never do. 1. She embraced failure because failure meant effort. 2. She acted on a simple idea. She didn't wait for the perfect moment. 3. She refused to quit after rejection, door after door. Slammed. But she knocked anyway. 4. She solved a problem millions had. Not a fancy invention, a real solution. Sara Blakely's story isn't about money, it's about resilience. She mastered the 4 things most people never do. 1. She embraced failure because failure meant effort. 2. She acted on a simple idea. She didn't wait for the perfect moment. 3. She refused to quit after rejection, door after door. Slammed, but she knocked anyway. 4. She solved a problem millions had. Not a fancy invention, a real solution.